Good evening, everybody. I say, my name is Tony Collins, and I'm still the Chief Executive of Virgin Trains. It could have been a guy called Tim O'Toole, the first group, but you have to put up with me. I'm going to try and talk a little bit about leadership, and in particular, leadership the Virgin way. I'm sure you've seen lots of press coverage of Sir Richard, and I can perhaps give you an insight in what it's like working for I'll say an entrepreneur, but I describe him as a nutcase. But we'll more about that later. I have to say, I was asked to do this and said, would I come along and talk to a few people? They forgot the word hundreds. But so I'm feeling a little bit nervous. And it does remind me, allegedly, Zsa Zsa Gabor's fifth husband was heard to say to his best man on the eve of the wedding night, I know what I've got to do, but can I make it interesting? So here goes. What I'm going to try and do is define what leadership is. I'm going to talk a little bit about the various styles of leadership and share with you 4 tips to what I believe is effective leadership. My objective is to give you an insight into leadership the Virgin way. Firstly, mention a little bit about Virgin Trains. When I took over as CEO, I was given some very clear objectives. My target was to make sure the operation was safe, pretty important, earn money and deliver brand value. As I said, Virgin Trains turns over around £1 billion a year. We employ about 3,500 people and we operate a fleet of 75 trains. And we carry, in fact, I think we've just touched 33 million passengers a year. We operate out of 17 stations, places like Glasgow, Euston, Manchester Piccadilly, Wolverhampton, obviously, and Liverpool. And we have staff depots spread across the country. We have depots in Glasgow, Euston, and places between. The trains themselves do around about 25 million miles a year. So they're pretty heavily used pieces of kit. And the good news, we are safe, we do make money, and the brand is in pretty good shape. I guess that's why I'm still the CEO. So the first thing to do is trying to define leadership. And I'm sure you can all look up definitions of leadership. And a simple definition is leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. It could be described as a process of social influence, in which one person can enlist the aid and support of others in accomplishing a common task. Or the activity of leading a group of people or an organisation and having the ability to do this. And I'm sure there are many, many more definitions of leadership, but the thread that will run through all of those definitions, and it is a belief of mine, leadership is about people, not about process. I'm an accountant by training, and yes, I've now got a proper job. And it is a belief of mine that you put your trust in people, and that is simply just good business. So this is not a social event in terms of trusting people. For me, it is just good business to do that. And there are many different styles of leadership, and I'm sure there's a lot of academics in the room and commentators on this subject will always say a leader needs to be able to adopt his or her style depending upon the circumstances the leaders find themselves in. And there's a few definitions of leadership. And I'll quickly run through those just to give you a flavour. There's a transactional leader. This style starts with the idea that the team members agree to obey their leader when they accept the job. Team members are paid in return for their effort and compliance. The leader has the right to punish team members if the work doesn't meet an appropriate standard. The advantage, I guess, of this style, it offers clarity. You know what you have to do to get on. People's roles and responsibilities are very clear. It rewards and judges the team members on the results. So people who are ambitious or reward focused should be able to thrive in that environment. But the question I guess there is, what about job satisfaction? How do you get the new ideas coming through in that business? And how do you develop the future leaders? And then you've got the autocratic leader, or the transactional leader with attitude. An extreme form of transactional leadership where the leaders have complete power over the group. This style can often be seen come out when there's a crisis. It's incredibly efficient, that's for sure. Decisions are made quickly, but not necessarily the right decisions, and the work gets done. It's often said top military commanders are often thought to be the autocratic leader. They quickly make complex decisions so troops can get on and do the job of fighting. And then we have the bureaucratic leader, or by-the-book leader. And having worked for a French company, they're good at bureaucratic leadership. They have a process for even going to the toilet. They follow the rules rigorously and focus on ensuring that other people do the same. This style could be seen as very appropriate in an environment which has high safety risk, such as the nuclear power industry. Or in certain businesses, for example, if somebody's driving a 450-ton machine at 125 miles an hour and has 500 people behind him, otherwise known as a train. Follow the process, follow the rules. Then you have the task-orientated type leader. And he focuses on getting the job done and can be autocratic in doing that. They define the work and the roles needed. They put the structures in place, organise and monitor the output. I guess the stereotypical project manager could fall into this category. And then we have the people relations orientated leaders. That leader's totally focused on supporting and developing the team. He or she typically treats everyone on the team equally. They are friendly and approachable. The welfare of the individual team member is very important, and that leader is always available. And then we have the transformational leader. They expect the best from everyone on their team as well as themselves. They inspire the team members to achieve and develop their own skills, and often a transformational leader will need detailed people around them. They focus on inspiration, on working with the team to define the goal that team's trying to achieve, and they inspire the people with a shared vision of the future. They set clear goals and they motivate people towards those goals. This style is often seen as the best for business leaders. What I've actually just described is Sir Richard Branson. That's very much his style. There he is. Never knowingly undersold. And again, there's a lot of definitions of different type of leadership styles. But the reality is, to be an effective leader, it's important to adopt your style to fit the circumstances you face. In other words, you need to be very flexible in the way you approach your leadership roles. But unfortunately, life's not that simple, is it? You know, the human being is not that simple. And as leaders, we subconsciously favour a certain style. I guess another way of looking at it, if someone whose DNA makes them a superb engineer, could that individual become a high-quality accountant or a marketing executive? I guess an important question could be, could a transactional or autocratic leader who likes to give instructions be comfortable with a command and control style of leadership, become a transformational leader, a person who sees themselves as an equal and not superior to the team? So what's important when you look at leadership is the diagnosis of the individual. Key questions you'd ask that individual or try to come to terms with is, how competent is that individual at the task or the leadership role you're asking them to do? How competent am I at that role? The situations that individual may have to face, have they got the right style of leadership to succeed in that? Are you confident in that leader? Do you put your trust in that leader? And can that leader create those relationships? Yeah. An analogy could be, would a doctor perform an operation without doing a diagnosis first?